Good morning, everybody. This is Ian Trevethan. I am the Education and Outreach Manager at the Sternberg Museum of Natural History. And I am here with Reese, who is wandering around the office. Look, it's Reese.
I'm wandering.
Wandering.
I'm wondering as I'm wandering.
Well, and we are wondering. We're wondering what we should talk about today. You know, there are a lot of people we know that tune in, and when we don't immediately start our broadcast, we start getting messages. Are you going to do your morning broadcast? So we know we needed to do a broadcast, but we're having a hard time coming up with ideas, which actually kind of gave me an idea. So we're sitting around our office trying to figure out what is the idea for the day, because you can never plan these things too far in advance. Actually, we had a really good plan that we thought would last us 2 weeks, and we burned through that 2 week plan in 2 weeks, and that was 2 weeks ago. So ever since then, we've been kind of flying by the seat of our pants. So what I thought we might do is, we have seen the entire museum now. You know what is here, hopefully, or at least generally what we've got contained within our museums. We've been outside of the museum. We've looked at the trails. Heck, we've even been outside of our county. We've visited a couple of different counties. I've been in Ellsworth County, Russell County, Rush County. So outside of our own county of Ellis, to bring you interesting content. So what I thought I might do is actually throw it back to our viewers and say, hey, what would you like to see in the museum right now? Because we've got a museum out there, and the problem I run into is I've been coming to this museum every day for 10 years now, and so I tend to take a lot of what I see at the museum for granted, because it's just it's kind of like home, right? It's sort of like just going to my room. So I tend not to think of some of the things that other people who don't hang out at the museum full time constantly. So if there's anything of particular interest in the museum that you would like us to focus on today, put it in the comments. We'll wait. I know that there are a lot of people that have attended Fort Hays State University, or have visited, or they may not necessarily be local anymore, but they know of things that we have at the museum that they may be interested in. So again, if there are requests, I would be glad to take you to that particular point of interest within the museum. So throw us some ideas here. We're just hanging out in the office.
We can go check out our siren.
Ooh. So Reese says we could go check out the siren. Let's go check out our siren. Like,
You can hear a siren song.
right? Song of the siren?
Yeah, you might crash into a island or something. And
Isn't that a song? Song of the siren? Song of the siren? Who did it first? I can't remember who did it first. It's been remade a bunch of times. Who was it that did it first?
that's a good question. I don't know. I don't remember.
Who did Song to the Siren first? I don't know. My favorite version was done by This Mortal Coil, but that was like a 80s remix. All right,
The
so
lovely office.
see, this is the lovely main office. So Reese is going to take us to go see the siren.
Has anybody seen the...
I've talked about the shrunken head. There's our shrunken head. My wife nicknamed him Hedwig, the shrunken head. All right, so just to reiterate, if anybody has any special requests that they would like to see here while we're wandering around the museum,
Which one is your favorite moth?
my gosh, I've never thought about it. I like this one.
These are all the John Cody moths.
Although I have to admit, I am not really into the moth there. I'm really into the bat. I like the bat. I like bats. Bats are cool. I assume this is a brown bat? Hey, Dr. Fink, you're watching. Is this a brown bat?
A big brown bat.
A big brown bat. We rescued a big brown bat from the Dinas Cultural Center, and it was winter time, so we kept him We kept him in our house. Well, actually, I brought him here and fed him and kept him warm here for the winter. And then I put him back out in our shed, and he's been living there and eating bugs. And I'm happy because he's eating all the bugs.
Have we talked about Dr. Cody and his moths?
Let's talk about Dr. Cody and his moths. We're going to talk about Dr. Cody and his moths unless somebody has a better idea.
John Cody, yes, was a doctor here in town. Passed away just a couple of years ago. But he was an amazing artist. He actually has some books on human anatomy that he was an author of. And he was a well-known doctor in town, but he had...
Like an MD?
An MD, like an
Wow,
actual
okay.
MD. Which,
I did not know that.
yes, which leads you into the fact that he was also a really good artist, and so he actually had books of basically medical illustration and human anatomy. But his first love of drawing things from when he was a kid was of moths. And so
Oh, wow.
this is his first drawing from when he was 5 years old. He drew a moth.
Well, he was pretty sharp, really.
So that's pretty good for being 5, and that was in 1930,
Wow.
right? But he really, really took off painting moths, and I believe around 1980 or so, so when he was more like 50. So he has a series, he's probably got well over 100 different paintings of moths that he divided up amongst his children. But we have a number of his paintings in the museum, at the museum, and they're really pretty spectacular. And there's a couple things I love about his moths and his paintings in general, is that they're really, really lifelike. And not only that, but they really look, you get a different view. You can come up really close on them, and you can see the super fine detail, which is really, truly amazing.
Oh, he's got a little like pointillism happening here.
And so you can get fine detail of the feathers, structures on the antenna.
Even the wood. Look at the piece of wood.
Yes, everything is just really, really fine detail that is just spectacular. But then you can back up, you know, a number of feet and get a completely different view. So it's one of those things. Sometimes you can get out. There's certain types of art where you get up close and it looks kind of silly and dumb, and you back up and say, "Oh, now I see it. It's really spectacular." John Cody's paintings are, you can stand back and go, "Wow, that's really spectacular," but you can get really, really close and go, "Holy smokes, that's spectacular and highly detailed." So one of the fun things that we do is figure out what paintings are most popular with different staff members, and it's kind of interesting. Sometimes it's the background that that sort of leads people to decide which moths they like. And part of that is his detail of the plants, and other things in the paintings are pretty spectacularly detailed. And all of his moths that he paints are Saturniid moths. So it's a particular family of moths that he really, really fell in love with.
Trying to get the detail of the plants here. And then we can look at the moth. Again, like the detail on this is just, look at that. I've never looked that closely at, I'm kind of embarrassed to say, at these moths. Look at that, just, that is so cool. I mean, you know, I like to think that I do some pretty good detail work on the stuff that I do that could be considered artwork, but this is amazing stuff.
And his work is well known and well respected far outside of Hayes. It's really amazing to have. Hayes has a lot of really talented artists in the area, but Dr. Cody was pretty singularly spectacular with the moths, and I think that let's see, he's got some in Johns Hopkins. He's got some in Houston. There's some
I've definitely seen them all over Hayes.
in Seattle. So there's where his kids have dispersed to. A lot of his paintings have dispersed to.
Here's the.
So there's Dr. Cody. And I think at one point in time, he sold just a couple just to figure out what their value was. And I might be a little foggy, but it seemed like it was somewhere around $30,000 a piece for each of these things. So these are, you get your, let's see, not the first one that Ian was looking at is your typical Luna moth, the Luna moth that is all over the Midwest. But
Luna moth.
This is one of my favorites because I really like the yellow background.
Can everybody hear us okay? It's weird that nobody's making any comments right now. So I'm worried that we're like not being heard or something. Alicia, if you can hear us, make a comment. Make a face or something.
But just the plant detail is pretty spectacular. The moth detail is spectacular. I happen to like yellow, so I love the yellow background. It's really bright. I like bright things. Makes me happy. It's a cheerful thing. Wakes you up and it's bright. And some people like the really more muted colors. I like the really bright colors. But one thing is...
Carl commented. He says nice. Thank you, Carl. I was just worried because nobody's saying anything. And, it's a... What day is it? Tuesday?
Tuesday.
I don't know anymore. I don't even know. So, maybe it's just a mellow day. I expended all of my energy yesterday on the street corner.
Yes, you did. And Ian was on the street corner for probably another hour after we finished our Facebook Live because he was joined by our grad student, Jake, who brought in
Scythosaurus. So we have a character that we created for our Star Wars Day. So for those of you who might have missed it, yesterday was May the 4th, which for Star Wars nerds it's like Christmas or Halloween. So I thought it would be a really fun thing since we've been living in a period of uncertainty and news that's not so good, that it would be funny for people to see a clone trooper standing on the corner holding a sign saying,
May the 4th be,
May the 4th be with you. So,
the 4th was with us, but now it's not.
Now it is Revenge of the 5th. I made a sign that said, the Force is strong in Hayes and May the 4th be with you. And I stood out in the corner and waved at people. And I think at first they weren't sure what to make of it because, there was a guy in armor with blaster pistols in his holster. I didn't think about that really. So I think they were worried about the action happening in Michigan, that I was going to storm our I don't know.
Stormtrooper. You were a clone trooper.
I was a clone trooper. I was one of the good guys, so no worries there. But I think once they figured out what I was doing, I got some smiles, and there was one truck driver, a semi-truck driver, that was really funny. So anyways, that's the story behind that.
But it's feeling like a Revenge of the 5th day.
Yes. Speak up, though, because one comment that I got from Bobby is they can hear me better than they can hear you.
Well, it's because you're closer.
I know, and
what can I say?
I'm loud.
And I'm usually loud, but not always.
Is that better, Bobby?
So this is another one of my favorite ones. It's pretty cool because it's green and yellow. And as a Packers fan, I appreciate the
green and yellow.
But I appreciate that because they are my favorite colors.
And there's a little bit of, you might say purple in there too, or bluish, I guess. Which, again, is, I think, a color that Reese might be partial to.
It's true.
He makes it look good. I mean, really. I don't know that I could pull purple off the way Reese does.
It's a royal color. So, one of the things that's interesting is no matter, like I said, you may have a favorite one. A lot of times it's based on the background or the things that are with the moths.
Better, Reese. Better. Keep that volume.
But I'm closer now. But the thing that you can't deny in any of them is the spectacular detail and amount of work. I mean, the leaves, when you really get in and close on the leaves.
I apologize for the reflections here. Not much you can do about that one.
But you can almost see the stomata in the leaves. It's so.
You say stomata, I say
Stomata?
stomata. And there I go singing again. I gotta stop it. I keep saying I'm gonna stop singing. Look at that. Do. Very cool.
And is this the last one that we haven't looked at yet?
I don't think we've looked at this one. This one's good. Just the kind of detail is amazing. And are these watercolors that he did? So I'd really like to know how he got some of these textures.
Watercolors, and you can see that the different time periods. We've got, this one's in 1998.
I was never a good watercolor painter. Watercolors were not my thing. I like acrylic paint. I like paints I could stick my fingers in.
Well,
so you said this is 98.
That's 98. The one we were just looking at was 1986, which is a good year. I graduated from college in 86.
I was in junior high.
And I went to a school that was purple and white were the colors. But just the shading is really pretty impressive.
I was playing football in junior high. You saw the pictures.
And this one, Ian's favorite one, 1952.
So this is 52. Wow. I like the bat. I have a thing for bats. Which reminds me, I started Tiki Bat, and I need to finish Tiki Bat. So maybe I'll do a live feed about my progress or lack thereof on our dragons and other foam critters that we've been working on for our exhibit. Although Tiki Bat is not part of our exhibit. Although now I feel like I need to include him in there.
You almost have to now. 96.
96. Man, I just love that pointillism. Look at that. How cool is that? Okay, all right, sorry.
We have 92.
92.
With the Deep Purple. Which
Deep
was
Purple.
An album I listened to. I listened to Deep Purple when I finished exams in college, and I'd lay down and turn it up, play Smoke on the Water.
Was David Coverdale in Deep Purple? Who was in Deep Purple? It was like somebody that went off and had a solo career, wasn't it?
A couple of them. Let's see. Richie Blackmore was in Deep Purple. I think.
Or do we have any Deep Purple fans out there? These are questions that need to be answered. So this was 81.
81.
81, another good year.
Was my senior year in high school, 81 to 82.
I was in second grade. But hey, at least I was there.
That's amazing.
That is really cool. Look at that leaf. Just the leaf and the olive. Good stuff. What sparked his interest in moths? Well, if you just tuned in, apparently it was something that he was always interested in. So these are some of the photographs of early, or not photographs, these are actual drawings from when he was about 5 years old.
Yep.
And he was already drawing moths at that point. So apparently it's just one of those early things that he was drawn to that stuck with him all of his life. Even though, he went into professional life as a medical doctor, he still maintained interest in moths.
And what's interesting is
drawing moths. But look at the detail, even, 5-year-old 5-year-old John Cody. He's still, look at that. He's got the detail. He's already doing the pointillism that I'm so taken with in this photograph or this painting. Words are hard for me today. So, you can see he was already developing his style at a very, very early age. So I think this is just hardwired in there. So I don't know if that's a intelligent answer or not. I don't go for intelligent anymore.
And over here you can see he did a cricket and
and he does it to scale, which is pretty awesome.
And a mouse and a praying mantis.
I love how the mouse is. Oh, I thought the mouse was bouncing, but that's another moth or butterfly. That's pretty cool.
And the interesting thing that you would expect from a 5-year-old.
He's got a praying mantis in here somewhere. Yeah, there's his mantis.
There we go. Yep.
Wow.
He had his moth with 4 legs instead of 6. So he put
Had
it
some
like
stuff
a
to learn.
typical, sort of mammal thing. Give him 4 legs instead of 6.
But I'm still like the detail in there is really pretty incredible. I mean, he's got it in both too. That's what's amazing, is he saw something there, or he was processing, that there needed to be a texture. So
Absolutely.
that's really cool. 1930.
Just and I got to know him a little bit when I first started here 10 years ago. Very, very.
This is actually a really
Cool gentleman.
cool example of doing what you are. And I think it'd be interesting, maybe even with some of our staff members, to look at things that people do that may or may not be connected with your professional life that has always been with them. So, what would that be for you? Would that be football? Would that be that be your interest in nature? Because
We all have different things,
Yeah.
and probably my biggest hobbies are walking around in nature with the dogs, or
dogs are a thing.
Dogs
yeah.
are a thing.
Oops, that's not what I wanted to do. I don't want to look at me. I want to look at you.
Dogs are a thing, and football is a thing. People around here know that I have an obsessive hobby between January and April of studying all of the college football players and to figure out who's going to be drafted where in the NFL draft. And it's an interesting, odd obsession, but it is an obsession. Other than that, it's really walking around with the dogs and hanging out and walking around the nature trail or other places.
Noticing things, because you had an aptitude as a young person. I mean, you went all through Scouts as an Eagle Scout.
Well, I was a Eagle Scout all through Scouts. I made it through all the Scouts to become
I know, but not many people do that. So there's something there.
So yes, nature was always a fun thing. My dad would be one that would take me out for hikes and watch crows mobbing hawks or owls and looking at gulls on plants and looking for bees and all sorts of fun stuff. So just being outside
Yeah.
is always been a very important part of my life.
So what do you suppose my thing would be?
What would Ian's thing be?
What do you suppose?
I think it's got to be. Well, there is a bit.
There's that one thing.
There's that one thing. There's. What is it? There's this Star Wars thing.
I haven't heard of it. I don't know what you're talking about. Sounds like a bunch of weird stuff to me.
But especially what Ian is very creative, right? So he makes things. So he makes his.
I think what that started with actually is Jim Henson and the Muppets.
Yeah, there we go.
You start to see these creatures. And when he started branching out from, the Sesame Street and the Muppet Show stuff, I mean, I was taken with some of the things I saw in the Muppet Show. But when, he started doing the movies with some of the more realistic creatures, and then I found out in Star Wars that Yoda was actually a Muppet that was operated and voiced by Frank Oz. I began to, Gremlins was another thing.
Gremlins was awesome.
That on one level, that these creatures are made by a person, they're operated by several people, somebody has a hand, somebody's making the voice. But on the other hand, this thing becomes its own thing. So that was always fascinating to me. So yeah, I was always looking at ways to...
Costumes and dragons. See, that's where he's
And rocks.
And rocks.
I always liked rocks. I was always out, and I think that's a Mount St. Helens thing. I was always keenly aware of geology, like from pretty much as early as I can remember. The other thing is my mom was taking a geology class when I was very, very young. I had to have been 3 or 4. She was at University of Michigan. And they went on a geology field trip somewhere in Ohio, I think.
And they found trilobites. I could tell you. He said,
and it stuck because,
trilobites, brachiopods, crinoids. It's very Ohio.
As it turns out that one of my advisors as an undergrad, James Schmidt at Montana State, was a GTA at University of Michigan, and he would do the field courses. Now, we were never able to put it together if he was there, but it came up in conversation once. He's like, "When was your mom there?" And I didn't know the date exactly. I had to do math to to remember that. It might have been 1976. So he's like, wow, that's weird. So it could be that I met one of my advisors in his early career.
That's very
Crazy.
possible.
And of course, you were in Washington State in 86.
1986.
86. So you were running around Washington State when I was running around Horizon Junior High's football field.
There we go. I was flying over Mount St. Helens and landing in and walking up on the dome and flying with a Vietnam helicopter pilot who flew in. And
That's cool. That would have been cool.
He took us for a very fun ride in and out of the crater. So yes, I also got to take a night flight over Mount St. Helens where we had our infrared cameras so we could look for all the hot spots in the dome where all the heat was coming out, which was a whole lot of fun. So I had a whole fun experience doing
St. Helens.
An internship at the Mount St. Helens Volcano Observatory in Vancouver, Washington.
Yeah, well.
Very, very fun time.
How cool is that? So the world is a small place. It really is. All right. Well, we kind of went off the track there. And
we never even got to the sirens. We got stuck on
Let's go look
moths.
at a siren. Who wants to go look at a siren? I want to look at a siren. Let's go find the sirens. Boop. All right. We've run out of moths to look at, so we're going to go look at sirens. What is a siren, Reese?
What is a siren? Well, there's a lot of different definitions of sirens in the dictionary, right?
Right. Well, I'm, doing all these mythological things, so I'm imagining something very different.
But sirens are amphibians. They're sort of related to salamanders, and they're aquatic. They have little tiny legs, and they basically stay aquatic all the time. They can just they're trying to think how many species there are around here, but there's a couple of species in the U.S. We need Curtis here to tell us about sirens.
Hopefully people will start coming back sometime soon so we can add a more interesting variation to our entourage of me and Reese.
Let's see if
and
they're
occasionally
out.
Alicia. Are they out? Oh, there it is right there.
There we go.
Hello.
You can see the gills are out, so he can stay in the water. And look at the tiny legs.
There's another one right there. Gosh,
Yep.
This does look like something out of Star Wars. I got to remember that for next Star Wars Day.
Very, very long, tiny little legs. They still have their juvenile gills and sort of wide-keeled tail for swimming. There he comes by.
Cool animals.
And you see that they only actually have front legs. You don't even see.
Let's see if I can get a close-up of the front legs. Reflections are causing me problems right now because we're right next to an emergency exit that has a big window on it. There we go. Hi, dude. Look at that. Look at that. Thank you for holding still. We're just going to run right along the length of your body here. Look at that tail. That's a wonderful tail. Thank you, sirens, for being so cooperative. All right, I think we've hit the saturation point, Reese. So that is going to be our morning live feed for the day. And I will try to come up with something sort of interesting for the afternoon. I think I might, like I said, I might go back to my shop and continue some work on our upcoming exhibit/summer program that deals with from mythology to paleontology, and I haven't talked about that in a while, so give you an update on how that's going. So hopefully we will see you this afternoon. I'm Ian.
I'm Reese.
And as always, we ask you to like and share our live feeds. Feel free to leave comments even if we're not live, and we will try to address them as soon as we can.
And we won't address them very well if we're not live.
Yeah, well,
If we're not alive.
Speaking of dressing,
If we're not live,
I wore
what?
pants today, look. All right, so we'll see you this afternoon. Have a great day.